Hi everyone, welcome to the Highlights from Ukraine podcast, your daily audio summary of the latest news reported in the Ukrainian media. My name is Artem, and here is the news. 792 days less the Russian invasion of Ukraine. President of Ukraine Volodymyr Zelensky informed that he held a meeting of the staff. They discussed issues of protection of the sector, social facilities, everything that sustains normal life in cities and communities. Another topic was domestic production of weapons and equipment in Ukraine. The president stressed that each manufacturer must have a truly long-term assurance that each contract will be backed by the necessary finance, supply and logistics. Quote, "We are also working with our partners to invest in production in Ukraine. In some areas we can already produce much more than our funds can cover." In particular, during our visits, during negotiations, in contacts between government officials and partners, we discussed the possibility of raising funds on a larger scale so that countries that have the funds but do not have their own production facilities can build their arsenal together with us and help our frontline, unquote, said the president. Zelensky added that Kyiv is preparing for the next meeting of the Ramstein Ukraine Defense Group that will take place on 26th of April. According to the head of state, among other things, participants need to discuss how to overcome the difficulties and problems that have accumulated over the past 6 months, while we have been waiting for decisions on American support. Politico informs that the United States is finalizing the preparation of one of the largest military aid packages for Ukraine and is preparing to sign contracts for the supply of weapons and equipment for the armed forces of Ukraine, worth up to $6 billion, reports Ukrainska Pravda. The aid package, which may be finalized and announced as early as Friday, will be part of Ukraine's $61 billion aid package. According to Politico sources, it will include Patriot air defense equipment, artillery ammunition, drones, anti-drone weapons, and air-to-air missiles, which will be mounted on fighter jets. The equipment likely won't arrive in Ukraine for several years because the money is allocated under the Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative, which contracts with US defense companies to build new equipment for Ukraine rather than buying from existing US stockpiles. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin is expected to announce the new aid during a Ramstein virtual meeting on Friday. Ukrainian Minister of Agrarian Policy Mykola Solsky decided to resign, reports Ekonomiczna Pravda. The former chairman of the Agrarian Committee of the Verkhovna Rada, the current Minister of Agrarian Policy, is suspected of taking over state land worth 291 million hryvnia and attempting to take over land worth another 190 million. The suspected illegal activity took place in 2017-2018 when Solsky was a lawyer. In addition to Solsky, his deputy Markyan Dmitrasevich, who is currently on a business trip abroad in connection with the start of negotiations on Ukraine's accession to the EU, was also charged in the case of land transactions. The High Anti-Corruption Court concluded the meeting regarding the election of the precautionary measure for the minister, and the judge will announce his decision today. We would really appreciate if you could recommend us to your friends and family, as well as share information on social media. This way more people would learn about the podcast and truth about Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Ukrainian Parliamentary Commissioner for Human Rights Dmytro Lubinets has provided Qatar with a list containing the names of 561 Ukrainian children who have been illegally taken by Russian forces, reports АrmіяInform. The Russian side is already reviewing the list. Lubinets stressed that the negotiations on the return of Ukrainian children are being conducted with Qatari mediation and that there were no direct negotiations between Ukraine and Russia. He also said that in addition to the handing over of the list, a group of Ukrainian children is expected to return home. This will be announced publicly when the children arrive in Ukraine. Thank you for listening to the Highlights from Ukraine podcast. We're a commercial initiative of just 2 people and we need your help to grow. Share information about the podcast, rate us in the app, subscribe to our Patreon. With your support, we are getting better. We call on you to demand from governments of your countries to impose the toughest sanctions possible on Russia and its citizens to stop their invasion of Ukraine.